As I'm sure you are all well aware, the current state of our economy is making it more and more difficult to justify spending large amounts of money on non-essential items like clothing and accessories. This has led to the increasing popularity of fast fashion companies like Shein, AliExpress, and many others. Like many of you, I am an avid internet user, which means I am a constant recipient of various marketing strategies that in my case target a younger, predominantly female demographic. This happens to be the prime demographic of the fast fashion industry, which makes me a first-hand witness to the advantages of fast fashion for the consumer: incomparable prices, quick shipping, and the wide variety of garments available. It all seems too good to be true, because it is. Today I will urge you to consider no longer supporting the fast fashion industry due to its inherent inability to maintain ethical sustainability and labor practices. In this presentation, I will advocate against fast fashion by first discussing its relationship with the global climate crisis and then transitioning to its labor rights violations. I would like to begin by talking about how fast fashion contributes to our global climate crisis. When shopping fast fashion, the price tag might be cheap, but the true cost is the extent to which the industry affects our environment. Fast fashion is a term used to describe the method among the textile and garment industry in which retailers outsource production to regions with little to no regulation in order to cut corners and produce the highest volume for the lowest cost. The three biggest environmental impacts of the fast fashion industry are carbon dioxide emissions, water pollution, and the exhaustion of non-renewable resources. The article, The Price of Fast Fashion, published by the London Nature Publishing Group in 2018, explains that textile production is one of the most polluting industries by producing 1.2 billion tons of carbon dioxide, an astonishing 5% of total global emissions. Carice Bailey recounts the issue of water pollution among the fast fashion industry in his 2022 article, The Environmental Impacts of Fast Fashion on Water Quality, a Systematic Review, where he states that the industry single-handedly consumes roughly 93 billion cubic meters of water annually and produces 20% of all global wastewater. Material exploitation among the industry is described in Subramanian Muthu's 2021 book chapter entitled Sustainability in Fashion: Issues with Raw Materials, embedded in his book Bacterial Cellulose, where he states that the fashion industry relies heavily on non-renewable resources like oils for the production of synthetic fibers, pesticides and fertilizers for the cultivation of cotton, and chemicals for the processing and finishing of textile materials. As you can see, the fast fashion industry does not enforce ethical sustainability practices in the production process, and in turn actively contributes to the global climate crisis. Now I would like to discuss the labor rights violations associated with the fast fashion industry. Not only is fast fashion taking its toll on our environment, but it is also incredibly damaging to the labor force working in the industry. As discussed previously, fast fashion companies outsource their production to countries with more relaxed regulations. These regulations have not only environmental effects, but also social effects on the communities of people that live in these regions. In the 2009 journal Addressing Workers' Rights in the Textile and Apparel Industries, Consequences for the Bangladesh Economy, author Nazneen Ahmed describes workers' rights as the encompassing rights of persons both as human beings and as workers, as well as additional rights that are necessary to ensure safe, secured, and dignified work life. These expectations are not being maintained in this industry because fast fashion companies are prioritizing their bottom line over the quality of life of their labor force. In her 2004 article, Globalization, Labor Standards, and Women's Rights: Dilemmas of Collective Inaction in an Interdependent World, author and professor Naila Kabir lists only a few of the workers' rights violations that are commonly observed in textile and garment factories, such as low wages, health and safety hazards, long hours without breaks, child labor, and sexual harassment. Now that I have explained the unethical practices among the fast fashion industry, I would like to talk to you about what can be done. The reason fast fashion companies are so popular today is the fact that their extremely low-priced clothing maintains an expensive or trendy look. At the consumer level, a way to avoid fast fashion while simultaneously not overspending is to buy your clothing secondhand. It's inexpensive, environmentally sustainable, and customizable. Another way to distance yourself from fast fashion is to invest in a sewing machine and start making your own clothes. However, this is obviously a more tedious approach that isn't always applicable to everyone. These techniques, while a great start, will inevitably not be enough to curtail the entire industry. To do this will require government intervention and increased regulation. However, every person that decides to stop supporting the fast fashion industry is taking money out of the pockets of the individuals that profit from this destructive industry. So I urge you to consider these points when deciding where to spend your money on apparel. In conclusion, how the fast fashion industry negatively affects our environment, the quality of employment for the labor force of the production facilities, and methods for said industry, I have explained how to avoid. I encourage you to continue this conversation. This is an important message that I believe, if more people knew about, substantial changes could occur.